to our lesson for today. So, remember last time we talked about how Solomon had decided to turn away from God and how he had become cruel and mean to the people of Israel and how they were suffering and how all of this made God very, very sad. And he told King Solomon that now because you have turned away from me and you have decided not to follow me, I am going to take away 10 tribes of Israel and I am going to give them to someone else. So now your family will only rule over 2 tribes of Israel. So now we're gonna see who is this man who was given these 10 tribes.
Yes. So remember we said that King Solomon had a lot of building going on. So he was building palaces and everything. And so this time round there was a rebuilding of a wall that was going on. And he was out in the side just looking and seeing how the work was progressing. And then as he was looking, he noticed a man that seemed to be working extra hard than everyone else. And then Solomon thought, who is that man? So he went to one of his farmers and then he asked, who is that man that is working so hard? And the farmer said, his name is Jeroboam. And then Solomon said, I like his work. He's actually doing a better job than everyone else. So what I want you to do is to put him in charge of all the other workers. And so that is what happened to Jeroboam.
Now Jeroboam was put in charge of all the other workers. And when Jeroboam found out about this, he was very happy and very excited. And then he was even ready to work even harder than before. And he was ready to do an extra job and make sure it is perfect. He was going to work even harder than he had before.
So
one day, while he was walking home, coming from work, he was on his way home, he met a prophet on the road.
And the name of the prophet was Ahijah.
So when he met Ahijah and Ahijah saw him, Ahijah took off his cloak. Now he had this brand new cloak. And a cloak is a coat or a jacket that prophets would wear
during those times.
So he took off his brand new cloak and started tearing it into pieces. He tore it and he tore it and he tore it and he tore it into pieces and he kept on tearing it. And when Jeroboam saw this, was like, what are you doing? He was so shocked.
He was shocked
because what's happening?
Yes, he was shocked because a cloak was very expensive at that time, and prophets were not that.
They didn't have a lot of money. Prophets did not have a lot of money at that time, but Ahijah was ripping his brand new cloak. So when Ahijah was done ripping the cloak, he took 10 pieces and he gave these 10 pieces to Jeroboam and he kept 2 pieces of the cloak. And Jeroboam was very confused.
He did not understand what had just happened because Ahijah tore his clock 1, 2, 3, so until he got to 12 pieces, and then he took 10 pieces from the 12, gave the 10 to Jeroboam, and he was left with 2. And so Jeroboam was wondering, what are you doing? What's the meaning of this? And then the prophet started to explain to Jeroboam what that meant. So the prophet told Jeroboam that God was going to give Jeroboam the 10 tribes of Israel to rule over.
He said God has said that he will take away the kingdom of Israel from King Solomon's family and he's going to give them to you. But then Jeroboam still didn't understand because he saw that Ahijah was still holding 2 pieces. So then Ahijah told him, King Solomon will remain with 2 tribes. So King Solomon and his family will rule over 2 tribes, but the rest, all the other 10 tribes, will go to you, Jeroboam. But you need to learn from King Solomon's mistakes. Because King Solomon turned away from God and now the kingdom has been split and a big part of it has been taken away from him and has been given to you. So you need to learn from his mistakes and you need to make sure that you trust and that you obey God and that you follow all that he tells you to do. And if you do this, you are going to be king and your sons will also be king. They will rule after you.
And also what Prophet Jeroboam did was actually Prophet Ahijah did was also a confirmation of what God had told Solomon. Remember, God had told Solomon that the 12 tribes from the 12 tribes that God was going to take 10 tribes of Israel from the kingdom of Solomon, and then he would only leave him with 2 tribes because he had made a covenant with David, the father of Solomon. So now Jeroboam is the one who was going to become king of the 10 tribes of Israel, and only 2 would be left with.
And when Jeroboam had this, he was still very confused
still didn't understand.
because he had never imagined
thought that he
himself
was going to be king, so he
out of all everything.
How?
Out of everything he was going to become king.
Mm-hmm.
But then he also thought and he said, why should I wait until Solomon dies?
Yes.
It's because I'm going to become
If God has
king.
said I'm going to be king, then
I'm going to be
as
king.
well
I can just be king right now. So
Yes.
Jeroboam started making plans and schemes and
Yes.
plots so that he can become king and he can overthrow King Solomon. But then Solomon heard about the plans
And
of
he
Jeroboam.
was not happy
He was
at
very
all.
angry,
Yes.
and he said, go and fight Jeroboam so that he can be killed.
Yes, so Solomon sent for people to go and kill Jeroboam. But Jeroboam heard that Solomon wanted him dead. And so what he did, he ran away and he went to hide in Egypt. And then while there he thought, I can stay here until I am safe to go back and become the king of
Yes, because
Israel.
when Solomon dies, it's going to be
Yes.
my turn to be king.
Mhm.
So what we learned from this is Jeroboam was very, very, very hardworking.
Yes.
He did his work very well.
Perfectly,
And
that he was
perfectly.
even noticed.
And it was even better than everyone else's, so that the king noticed him, and then when he was noticed, he was put in charge of the other people.
Yes.
And then he even was going to become king himself. So kids, when we are given a job or when we have work to do or when we're doing anything we
extra,
have to make sure we work very, very
hard,
very hard at
yes.
it, and that we do our very best, and that it turns out to that we have done our very best.
Yes, and also we need to know that when we disobey God, it's actually us who lose the most, because now it was confirmed that Solomon was going to lose 10 tribes from his kingdom and only remain with 2, simply because he turned away from God. So children, it is our duty to always do what is right, to work hard and to always obey God. So now we are going to stand up and sing our song. So let's all stand up and sing this song.
So kids, it's time for us to sing our song. Now we've just talked about how Jeroboam was very hardworking and how he always did his best and how his work made him stand out and shine. So now we're gonna sing a song about how we need to shine as we serve and we need to give love, and so that everyone can know that Jesus loves them through our work. So everyone stand up and help us sing this song. God made me a part of His story. I will live all for His glory every day and every night. God made me a part of His story. I will live all for His glory every day and every night. So come on, we're gonna go and change the world. Come on, let's go tell every boy and girl. Come on, get ready, let's go. Let's all shine and serve. Let's all give and love till the whole world knows Jesus loves them. So let's all shine. Let's shine and serve. So let's all shine and serve. Let's all give and love till the whole world knows Jesus loves them. So let's all shine and serve. Let's all give and love till the whole world knows Jesus loves them. So let's shine and serve. So let's shine and serve. So let's shine and serve. Yay! Okay kids, so we've just talked about how Jeroboam was given this amazing news about how he is going to be the king of 10 tribes of Israel. And how he was given this news is when he met Prophet Ahijah, and Prophet Ahijah tore up his new cloak. And because this is how Jeroboam got the news, this is what we're going to do for our craft. So we're going to draw our cloak and then that has been torn into several pieces, and then we're going to color it. And remember, each of those pieces of the cloak was going to represent a tribe of Israel. So we're also going to write the names of the tribes of Israel on each of these pieces, and then we're going to color them, and then we're also going to show a division between the tribes that were taken by Solomon and the tribes that were taken by Jeroboam.
Yes, so remember we said 10 tribes went to Jeroboam, so the majority will be Jeroboam's tribes, and then 2 tribes that we are going to put right there at the bottom will go to Solomon.
Okay, so what we have here is we have an outline of our cloak. So we're just going to draw over it and make it darker. And as you can see, we've drawn it in pieces. So even you, when you're drawing your cloak, make sure you draw it in pieces.
Different pieces.
So I'm going to start with the corner, the sleeve. I'm just going to make that darker. And there we go. Here is our broken or torn cloak in many pieces. It's like drawing a map.
Yeah,
Because it's actually a map. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is I want you to write down the names of all of the tribes of Israel and how they were divided.
Okay.
So remember, I'll start from this sleeve. We have Naphtali. We have Naphtali, and then next we move on to Dan. And then we'll go to Zebulun. And then next we go to Asher. And after Asher we go to Issachar. And then Manasseh. And after Manasseh, we're going to come back up and we're going to go to Gad. And then Ephraim. Reuben. Simeon. And then finally at the bottom, Judah. And Benjamin. Okay. So now that we have all of our tribes named,
All the pieces of the cloak.
and all the pieces of cloth, we need to color this so that it's bright and it's beautiful and we can see it and we can remember. And remember, it was a brand new cloak, so we need to make it look very bright. So now we're just gonna take our colors and you can color you can color each randomly, and each tribe should be a different color. Okay, there we go. We have all of our tribes colored, and it looks like a very beautiful map once you finish coloring it all the different colors. And now we need to remember what it is exactly our lesson is about. So at the very top of your paper where you've drawn your map and where you've colored it, I want you to write news for Jeroboam, because all of this was information that was given to Jeroboam. So news for Jeroboam with a J. Jeroboam. So this is all news from Jeroboam. And we find this story in 1 Kings chapter 11. Okay. There we go. Now this is our craft for today. And this is also our lesson for today. So one thing I want you to do is I want you to take your pen or a marker or a highlighter or a color, and I want you to draw a line around the bottom around Judah and Benjamin. So use a bright color or a highlighter or a marker, but make sure you draw your line at the bottom, because remember, 2 tribes remained in the family of King Solomon. Okay.
Only the 2 tribes at the bottom.
Only the 2 tribes at the bottom remained in the family of King Solomon, and everything else was for Jeroboam.
Yes.
Okay, so that is our craft for today, and that is our lesson for today. And we should always remember the news that Jeroboam was given because he was hardworking.
So remember when you see this that God divided the kingdom because Solomon sinned against God. And so 10 tribes were taken away from him, and he was only left with 2 tribes.
Yes.
So this is our craft today. That's our lesson today. Until next time.
Bye.